The rise of Frankenstein opioids. Stronger than fentanyl, a new monster. A new killer on the street, so to speak, and it's not heroin and it's not fentanyl. This is worse, it's stronger, and you've probably never heard of it. They're literally calling these Frankenstein opioids. It's called Nitazines. Or really, a whole family of Nitazines, lab-made opioids. Some of these are up to 500 times stronger than heroin and even deadlier than fentanyl. We're gonna get into it in 1 minute. Thank everyone for the love and support for Sober Dogs. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't. Make sure you like the video, become a member of the channel. Check us out on social media and leave a comment if you have any experience with any of the drugs I'm gonna talk about in this, or just tell me about your craziest experience with maybe anything that's been an overdose, somebody you've been around, a friend or a family member, because it's wild how these drugs are hitting. All right, so Nitazines. Let's get into this and break this literal Frankenstein drug down. What is a Nitazine? Let's start from the beginning. Nitazines are a class of synthetic opioids that were originally developed in the 50s by pharmaceutical companies. Now, they were shelved and never released for medical use, mainly because they were just so damn powerful. They were considered too dangerous to touch. That's crazy. Now, that has been a little bit debunked. Like, we've seen some of the videos where there's an EMT who touches fentanyl and overdoses. They've been debunked somewhat. Just touching fentanyl, you're not gonna overdose. You have to either inhale it a decent amount, or if they touch it and lick their fingers, or touch it and touch the water of their eyeball, it could potentially do that. In prison, side note, we used to put drugs in our eyes. It was a side way to get high. You didn't have to, but like, you take a little piece of Suboxone strip or a little piece of LSD and you put it in your eye versus under your tongue, and it hit quicker. So if an EMT or somebody had fentanyl on their fingers and did touch their eyes, theoretically it could happen. Fast forward 70 years and these drugs are literally being cooked in labs and sold on the street. This is exactly why they're called Frankenstein opioids. Created in the 50s, shelved, basically killed, and now revived by a bunch of dealers and cartels and users. They aren't natural, they don't come from poppies. These are straight up Frankenstein chemicals designed in a lab and stitched together to be as strong and as addictive as possible. So some of the most common ones we're seeing right now, Protonitazine. Now this one I did a video on, spoke a little bit about the Nitazine family, but didn't get nearly as deep into it as we need to. That's one of them, about 5 times stronger than fentanyl. Protonitazine, up to 500 times stronger than heroin. 500 times stronger than heroin. That is pure insanity. Nitazine and Etonitazine, and there's others in this category too, and they're all extremely potent. Some of these they're saying are 1,000 to 2,000 times stronger than heroin. That is pure insanity. You're not gonna find this stuff in a pharmacy. You find it in fake pills, heroin, pressed blues, Xanny lookalikes, and even the cartels were experimenting with vapes and powders, trying to turn it into a vape somebody could hit. Didn't work out very well from what the reporting is. Because it's so new and constantly changing, most drug tests don't detect it, which means people are overdosing and they have no idea what they're overdosing on. The death count with these are rising. In the UK in 2024, 150,000 Nitazine tablets were seized. So if that many were seized, at least 10 times that it's on the street. And 230 plus confirmed deaths from Nitazines. And usually whatever the number is in the UK, we're 10 to 20 times that in the US. So we could probably safely assume a couple thousand of the overdose deaths are from Nitazines. And those are just the confirmed cases. Experts say the actual number is substantially higher. Like I just said, how many we don't even know about. And because many of the labs don't have tests for these drugs. There's even, coroners and medical examiners that don't know exactly what they're testing for an overdose. Doesn't show fentanyl, doesn't show heroin, and somebody died. So they had to even come up with some of these tests to find out what was going on. We've already seen reports in the US, across Ohio, PA, New Jersey, Florida, Cali, New York, where users were dropping from what they think was heroin or oxy, but it was actually a Nitazine laced pill. Think about it. If fentanyl can kill with just 2 milligrams, imagine something 5 times stronger, 10 times stronger. I've shown those videos of how much minuscule amount of powder it takes of fentanyl. This is an even whole new category. So why haven't we heard about this? Why isn't this getting more attention? First of all, opioid deaths in the opioid epidemic and drug epidemic doesn't get covered nearly enough as it should anyway. We've become desensitized to it. It's 100,000 deaths a year and it's not even talked about nearly as much. I mean, that's insane. That's a 9/11 happening every 3 to 4 days and not talked about. Also with Nitazines, why it's so hard is there's no single Nitazine. There are dozens of variations. Chemists keep tweaking the formula to stay ahead of law enforcement and regulations. They say law enforcement's always one step behind the criminal because they don't know what they're looking for if they don't know about something yet. They don't even know about a drug, they can't look for it. Then all of a sudden the drug hits the street, starts affecting and hurting people, then law enforcement is looking for it. By that time, the cartels and whoever have come up with new stuff. Also, these names are hard to pronounce and just don't make for flashy headlines. Protonitazine, Nitazine, isotonitazine, they just don't attract the attention our 24-hour flashy news, outlets need and want. So this is why dealers love this and why it's spreading so fast. Simply put, of course, profit. Dealers can take a giant shitty batch of heroin that's a 3 out of 10 and put a little bit of this in it and make it a 7 out of 10 like that with a small amount of this drug because it's so strong. Pressed pills, they love this because they could put a tiny amount in the overall batch and press a bunch of pills. Pill press now, cartels have pharmaceutical grade pill presses to where there's doctors and pharmacists, they can't even tell the difference between some of these fake pills. Perks, oxys, Xanny bars, Vicodin, morphine, any, Opana, anything you could think of, the Dilaudid, they're mixing this in. That's what makes it so dangerous with the people that overdose and don't have a tolerance and not even drug users. There's somebody on a college campus that is stressed out and wants to take a half a Xanax to relax from their exams, and it's a pressed pill and they overdose and die. It's basically playing Russian roulette with something stronger than fentanyl. It's crazy. Here's where the major problem comes in with these, the Narcan problem. Nitazines require more naloxone or Narcan to reverse it. When it was just normal heroin 30 years ago, 1 Narcan did the trick. Then fentanyl came around, it's 2 to 3 sometimes. Now with these, people need 4 or 5 Narcans to pop them out of it. A lot of families who are living with an addict don't even have 5 Narcans available. That's what makes this so dangerous and so insane, this whole class of drugs. So what can we do about it? If you are an active user, test your stuff. If you can get Nitazine test strips or fentanyl test strips, if it's legal in your area and you can get them, carry Narcan, please carry multiple of them or just have them on deck if you live with somebody who's using or you're a user, have your family members, whoever around you know how to use it, and then just keep educating yourself. This stuff's gonna keep getting worse and new ones are gonna keep coming out, so we gotta stay updated and ahead of the game. K-Rugs, the Sober Dog, and I'm out. Everyone be safe out there. See ya. Sleepy dog on the floor. Yep.